Perfect. Think we get started maybe in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it now. See, we're saving time already. Welcome everyone. My name is Karina Escaño. I'm in the events team for the Enablement Squad. And the Enablement Squad is one of the largest open communities for enablement professionals. And our mission, as you can see here, is to engage, educate, and empower enablement professionals across industry and the globe. And this webinar is in partnership with the Revenue Enablement Society. And I want to call out just a few things. I put our websites for the Enablement Squad and for the Revenue Enablement Society. Please visit so you can know how to join and see any other events coming up, webinars or even hackathons. Hey, all right, so why are we here? So we are here to talk about showcasing enablement. So how to showcase your enablement. Um, we want showcase the value of enablement, excuse me. And we're here with Jill and Tara, and they're going to share their expertise with us. And I will let y'all introduce yourself. Jill, let's start with you, please, and then go to Tara.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. I'm Jill Clark Fulmer. I'm a solo enablement consultant. Been in the industry probably almost 15 years now, which is crazy. And then on my own about 10 years. And I actually started in sales, got pretty burned out because honestly, I needed enablement. I didn't realize that at the time, but went into people coaching and then found my way into enablement and never looked back. It's been such a cool career in terms of mixing together people and innovation and problem solving. So a lot of fun.
Great.
And
Tara, how about you?
yes, thank you. I am Tara Macomber. I reside in Cincinnati, Ohio. So go Reds. I have two boys that are crazy and wild. My husband and I are about to celebrate our 13-year anniversary coming up in April. So exciting. I personally have been in sales for 20 plus years. I know, God bless us all who've been there. I've been an individual contributor at many capacities, net new business, upsold, cross-sold, managed enterprise accounts, you name it. I was down that path at some point. I then got into sales leadership, which I loved. I love developing people, coaching people, helping people get to where they want to be in their careers. And then I joined Enablement a couple years ago and absolutely fell in love with it. It is a perfect marriage of the world of sales and the world of sales leadership together. So I just really am so passionate about what we all do as enablers, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Amazing. Thank you both. We have a lot to cover, a lot of amazing expertise, which Jill and Tara are going to give to us. So let's get right into it. And
Let's do it.
you can see us all now. Great.
Here's me.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. First question. What changed the most in the last 12 months that forced enablement to evolve? And let's start with Tara on this one.
Yeah, so for in my experience, I would say two things, and most of us can probably relate to this. AI and how we're using it. I wouldn't say AI is new necessarily because it's not, it's been around, but how we're using it, how we're expected to use it, that's been a big change. And then also go to market complexity. We've been seeing a lot of companies shift in how they're going to market and really working on simplifying it for their customers. But with those things in mind, that means a lot to sellers. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that they have to pay attention to. So it's really important that we don't expect our sellers to be experts at everything, but that we're there to help set them up for success. I would say
Okay, so me. Can you can you hear them to me?
I
I think
think
it's breaking up just a little bit,
Oh,
about
Tara.
okay.
AI. Can you all
But it was
back?
just me.
Tara, you're breaking up just slightly. Can you
A
hear us?
bandwidth issue I must be fighting over here. But two things: have a plan for how AI is expected to be used internally and externally. So have a plan for those too, because your sellers are going to crave it. They're going to need it. And make sure that those two things are a big focus for you. For go-to-market complexity, our CROs are looking for reduction in noise, and so are our sellers and our leaders. So really try to create a safe environment for your sellers to be able to practice what they are going to be speaking to their market about. So give them that safe space to understand, learn new things, be that expert and partner, if you will, trustworthy partner for the folks that they're trying to deliver to. So those are a couple of things I would say right off the bat. The other thing I would say is when we do PowerPoints, sit and gets are no longer a thing in enablement. They're just not. Nobody wants to sit and get anything. So it's interaction, it's conversation, it's give them an assignment, give them real world experiences, let them listen to each other. Those are things that our markets really need to help get advanced in AI and with go-to-market strategy. And I know Jill has some amazing thoughts here we were talking about.
Yeah, Tara and I had a really good conversation last week, and she said a lot I would have said too, as well as, I'm just going to name the elephant in the room. There is a lot of anxiety right now in go-to-market. There's a lot of volatility in the marketplace, and what I'm seeing is like a lot of top-down anxiety from boards, C-suite, things like that. And what is kind of funny is that we've all seen it. Where I don't know if you've seen the cartoon where it's like all these people are like, we want AI. And it's like, for what? We don't know. And it's, that's kind of what's happening right now, is that they're coming out of these meetings, or, they're being prompted to figure it out and do more with less, do, a lot more with less in your AI. But the problem is, I think everyone here would agree, we're not there and we're not ready. And what's happening is that a lot of attention is being thrown at using these tools, and a lot of budgets being thrown at them, but people aren't really integrating them into their workflow. And I don't mean that like, in your day to day. I mean, literally, like, have any of you ever gotten a project brief or something where someone makes like a training request and it spits out this thing like from their LLM, and they're like, here, and you're like, cool. And you start reading it and you're like, what? And I've spent so many hours just trying to make sense of that. So I think that right now, our biggest challenge is to prove to leaders that actually, AI does not solve all of our problems. We need someone to actually like hold that container and really be aware of everything the company needs operationally, so that people aren't just spitting things out and running on to the next thing, because it's actually wasteful.
Perfect. I'm going to keep going because we have so many cool questions to ask, and I want to make sure we get to all of it. So where are leaders raising the bar for enablement? I'm sure we can all feel this a little bit, and we'll start with Jill this time.
Okay, so now that I just badmouthed AI, I'm going to say AI. And the reason why is I think y'all would agree. Enablement requires a lot of detail, right? And, especially we want our people to feel taken care of. We want to make sure all the information is captured for them, new hires, whatever. And I feel like there are all these like crazy making admin things that would, keep us at work until 10 o'clock. And those can go away now. Like, you can use AI for good and have it shrink those administrative things that you don't need to be spending your time on. That allows you to put all of your expertise into proving value, like we're, talking about here. And so really developing those relationships with your stakeholders and thinking about, and we'll dig into this some more. I know Tara has some good thoughts, but just thinking about how you can keep everyone moving forward. And that's something that is really hard to do when your head's down in spreadsheets. So the biggest enablement like step up I've seen is really just kind of having your hands on everything and being supportive of the mission of everybody.
I apologize if I'm cutting out over here. It keeps kicking me out and then re-putting me back in. Are we on the second question?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just,
okay,
how do we raise the bar?
Yeah, so in this particular question, I love this question actually, because I've worked at a couple places where enablement was already a thing. Like it was there, it was established, they understood it, they had a cadence. I've also worked at places where enablement wasn't necessarily the most trusted partner. So we are responsible for assessing that when we walk in the door and building what's considered a more cohesive group. So we should be partners working with sales leadership, with our CROs, with sales ops, with HR in some cases, with our marketing partners, portfolio and product. It's not, nothing should be done in a silo. And the most successful things I've experienced have been when we all understand and know each other's objectives and goals, which can be very different. We're still one team working for the same goal, and that's to make sure our sellers are successful and the business is growing. So my biggest thing here would say enablement should not be a silo. We are one team, and leaders are the biggest influence you can tap on the shoulder. So if they are not currently a part of decision making with enablement, find a way to gain their trust, build in some cadence and communication to be able to speak to your leaders and get their feedback. Their buy-in is everything. And we all know when sellers know if their leader is bought in or if they're not. the seller either follows the leader or doesn't follow the leader. So but I would say raising the bar, sellers aren't naive. And also with the AI adoption, we need to be there to help them raise the bar with not only like, hey, here's all these AI tools, but how do you actually use these tools and what's expected of you, and make it very clear for them. So those are two things that really come to mind in what I've experienced recently, and even talking with organizations over the last couple of weeks about what they're going through.
Awesome. We're definitely seeing that as well. If we don't have leadership buy-in, it's going to be 10 times harder to get where we want to get. For sure. Okay, next question. What are maybe 1 to 2 new expectations you're seeing from like CROs, VP of sales, any sales leadership right now? Tara, let's start with you, please.
Yeah, sure. If I cut out, go to Jill.
Okay.
Growth, and simplification. It's a complicated sales world right now. It is not easy to sell through. So again, making sure that what we're creating is cohesive, it aligns with the go-to-market strategy, set expectations with accountability. If the accountability is not there, we cannot measure anything that we do on enablement. And we'll get to that more in a little bit too. But CROs, they want results, and leaders want to be able to lead as efficiently as possible. And we have an opportunity to make a huge impact there by removing some of that heavy lift from their day to day. So we have to work again with our sales ops partners. We have to work with our marketing teams. We have to partner internally, because those folks are also able to help us measure what we're doing and understand if it's working or not. An example I would give is we've used HighSpot training and coaching modules. Some folks may have that, but assigning things out that aren't just, hey, watch this video, but it's, here's an actual assignment. Once you've watched the video, take a current client in your pipeline, take what's in salesforce.com, plop that opportunity link in here, and we want to know, who'd you talk to? What was the message you were talking to them about? Practice internally first, that's important, but then come to us and give us feedback. How'd it go? How'd that conversation go afterwards? And by doing that, what we were able to do was collect in 2 weeks, over 350 conversations happened in 2 weeks that were real time about AI topics that are relevant, allowed our sellers to be able to practice and give feedback that mattered to marketing and our C-level executives. So that's a couple ways to make it just come to life, allow the sellers to learn by doing and hold that accountability.
Yeah, I would add on to that. I mean, you covered a lot of things I would have said, but something right now I'm getting from sales leaders is there's not enough time. And, you know, it feels that way anyway, right? But especially now, there's this really intense instinct to like, you know, kind of gather as much as you can, get more activity, book sales sooner if you can, that kind of thing. So the time off the floor, which that kind of makes me cringe, because I think all time is valuable, but off the floor should be as valuable as absolutely possible with information. And so it's like, well, of course it is, but like what you could do is think about how could you make like I had a professor in journalism school who was a magazine professor, and he would say, how could you put more information in less time and less space? And so I let that drive a lot of what I'm doing. Like if you have a recording from, an hour-long live training, why don't you just get the highlights? Or, and especially we have tools now that can do that for you, which is awesome. Get the transcript, add the transcript to it, because some people read faster than they do listening to the recording. So think about do like 3 or 4 passes through and see how you could add more like volume of value and efficiency into a smaller amount. And I think that would go over really well with the CROs.
I absolutely love that. We all learn differently. So having a video and then the transcript or just bullet points, it's going to hit everyone a little bit differently. So thank you. And Tara, I just want to shout out something that I had to write it down. You said set expectation with accountability. And I was just like, yes, we need that. So thank you for that. Okay, let's go on to some enablement's value. So, which internal stakeholders question the value of enablement, and why do you think that is? Jill, let's start with you.
I actually had this conversation with a CFO recently, and I would think, based on a lot of those conversations, this is how this is going. CFOs, even like in the best time, like their goal is to do more with less, right? They're going to evaluate every single bottom line, and that makes sense, or every line item to get to the bottom line. And so they'll sometimes do these thought experiments. And here during COVID, this company really contracted. There wasn't a whole lot they could do about it, and their go-to-market team had a pretty big hit. Enablement was removed. And as they were starting to build back up, they were like, can we go without enablement? I mean, we have all these people here who know they've been here for years. And so they relied on that internal knowledge for people to just kind of take people under their wing and, just kind of have them shadow in their jobs. Suddenly, a lot of those people left and they had nothing. And people were scrambling to like put together anything, for new hires. It was a pretty complex product and industry. And so by the time they got the head count, found the right person, got them ramped up. They were out enablement 6, 9 months. And if that person moves on for whatever reason, they're right back to where they started. So this is not new for any of us, right? But I'm seeing a lot of the story, right? So what we want to do is get ahead of that and make sure that they understand that it's sort of like in sales when we say, what's the implication of doing nothing? A little different, but like, what's the implication of removing this really important resource that's like right there next to your go-to-market team?
Right. Absolutely.
100%. Couldn't agree more. From this is a great question, by the way, because we get asked this all the time. And again, for me, it comes down to the interaction. So a couple things, if you're asking me to name off a few here, this is what I would write down is number one, have a cadence with your stakeholders. If you do that, you are opening up your own world to have a brand new communication strategy where they feel involved in the process. And it's, again, breaking down any silos or barriers that might have existed. So cadence is so key, especially with sales leaders. They need to know what's going on. They want to understand where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And they want to see it on a regular basis and in a constructive way. So I'm not going to them with data saying, here's a terrible story about how this went, but it's no, here's what the data is telling us. And if we can move these things just a little bit together, then we're going to achieve X results. So it's coming together, looking at the data. So the second thing I would say is be able to tell these stakeholders a story with your data. Know your data. It's our responsibility to do that. And we can absolutely partner with our stakeholders to help do that as well. An example would be sales ops. We had great relationship. They're helping to run salesforce.com. There's things we're trying to track in salesforce.com. And so coming together, we can say, here's the ask. Can we take a look at data sets from this period of time to this period of time and compare it to X, Y, and Z? An example I would give is I was working with a company that desperately needed onboarding, sales onboarding. And after speaking with leaders, it was taking on average about 12 to 18 months to actually onboard somebody at the company. And that's a long time. It's a complex product, but that's a long time. So we were able to come together with those leaders and put together a brand new onboarding program for sales that was scalable, flexible, fit the environment, aligned with the go-to-market, and ended up reducing that time down to 3 to 4%. Now, or 3 to 4 months, sorry, not 3 to 4%. So it's actually a 75% reduction in ramp time. Yeah. So that was very exciting. The other thing I would say, have options. Jill and I were talking about this, and a lot of times folks don't know what we do on enablement. We have to tell them what we do. And so we created, at 2 different places I worked, we created menus where we showed, here's the different modalities of ways that we can get you in front of sales. So talk to us about what your need is, and we will get you the right modalities. Sometimes it was a live session, sometimes it was not, and sometimes it was a combination of two. So just, show them what you can do, and make sure that it's very crystal clear that we're there to help support, and we're creating consistent modalities. So sales also knows we're not going to overwhelm them with all these extra meetings.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, I'm learning so much. This is great. I'm here taking notes on my own too. Well, one thing I want to call out, please, anyone in the audience, if you have any questions, send that. We will leave some time at the end to answer the questions. And if we don't get there, we can always send out an FAQ with all the questions you add to the chat. So just wanted to call that out. I forgot in the beginning. Okay, so what are 2 to 3 outcomes you want stakeholders to associate with enablement in 2026? Tara, let's go with you.
Ooh, I love this one.
Just 2 to 3.
So here's one thing I would start with. Not hitting your numbers or if you're not hitting your numbers and knocking growth out of the park, stop doing what you've always done and start doing something differently. So that includes AI usage, that includes set clarity for your leaders and your salespeople, and that also includes expectations. So I include expectations and accountability, to me, fit under the same bucket. If you set the expectations and you follow up with those, with your leaders as partners and leaders with sellers, you will see behavioral changes that can be tracked in Salesforce.com, or in if you're using Medic, for example, as an AI system, or if you're using HighSpot. Those are all places. Workday, same thing. There's places we can track how behaviors are changing or are not. And then we can address those accordingly in a positive way, and celebrate the wins, and also make sure that we talk about if we lost in a certain place, why did we not get that gain that we were looking for? What was the breakdown, so we can overcome it? So those are the top things I would say. And the model that I typically follow anywhere that I've worked in enablement is, number one, align with your C-level executives. Gain alignment with your leaders. So give them an opportunity, the sales leaders, to ask questions, to form an opinion, to give their input before you roll anything out. It should have eyes on it. And then roll out to sales, obviously, and then review results, and then wash, rinse, repeat. That's kind of the schedule that I followed.
Great.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So what I really like to hear in there is, it's like it's a live thing. It's always organically growing and changing, and you're checking in with everyone, Tara, and getting the feedback and reiterating. And I think there's something we do that is really natural in enablement. We produce programs, we build things. And I am so guilty of this. So that's why I'm just leading with this. And then we have like a project becomes our baby, and we will not let it go. And we have to be, I think, a lot more nimble right now, because what we don't want to do is be really fixated on how something might play out a certain way or show up, whatever the case may be. Don't keep something in place just because it's already there. Keep checking to see if it's efficient. Is it getting the job done? Is it, helping people get what they need so they can go out in the field and do their job? The lack of flexibility will kind of bring you up against that risk of being viewed as a cost center, cranking out all this material that no one looks at. So none of us want that. And the way around that is like speed, alignment, empathy, all the things Tara just said. It's so hard being a sales leader. So just, keep checking in with them and saying like, what is stressing you out right now? And ultimately that's going to be the driver for what you do next. So I would say, to recap that, let go of the outcome. Well, you know what I mean? I shouldn't say that because we measure our results, but let go of your ego outcome around how something's going to look and try to optimize towards ultimately what's best for the organization.
Love that. And well, the next question, which is perfect because I kind of had this question while y'all were chatting about the last questions. So how often should enablement report value and in what format? So that's something I personally struggle with. So please, Jill, help me out.
Sarah and I were talking about this one too a lot last week. And what's interesting is that her experience is with much larger companies. And so I'll defer to her on data and quantity. And I've had to get kind of creative with some of these smaller companies where we don't have as much volume of activities or time or whatever the case may be. So what I like to do is look for a lift. I say that a lot, like a confidence lift. It's a little hard to show that, like as a lagging indicator to someone in finance. But if you roll out like a product training and you have something like a 1 to 5 scale, and at the beginning, you just have everyone vote real quick. How confident are you in articulating the value of XYZ product to the client? Or how confident are you in answering objections from a CFO, or whatever the case may be. And then at the end, measure their confidence. And the reason why some people might be like, oh, that kind of sounds a little fluffy. Well, it's more of a leading thing because what you want to prove to the sales leaders is that they don't have to do so much hand holding, right? Because that's, those sales leaders, like they join every call, they keep canceling on you, because they want to be there for every deal close. And at the same time, they're exhausted. So if you can help them realize that their people are becoming more self-sufficient around these challenging skills, then that's a great thing to prove. Another thing, what did I write down? I like to do help them bring things to their meetings. So if you know of a meeting cadence with the managers, like say your VPs, meet with a, head of sales CRO once a month or something, you could send them a quick snapshot, like to give them something to brag about their people, like look at what they covered this week, thought this, you might be interested in sharing this, or this might help with your report. So ways to just help boost them in their job, because it's a really difficult job. Like I could not be a sales manager. And I love to love them up because it's a very lonely job. Not a lot of people are really rooting for them. So this is an opportunity for you to do that.
I really like that. Thank you.
Good segue, Jill. So I've been on the sales leadership side of the house myself before and understand the asks that are constantly there. So I'm always trying to think through, when I'm bringing sales leaders together, am I bringing them together just to say we got together? No, I want them to feel like this is a meeting that they cannot miss. So I started with working with my team and my leadership partners to come together as a group once. It was like the first Friday of every month. We'd come together for 30 minutes. And I had, not a whole deck of slides. I don't believe in that, but it was, what are the activities that we're rolling out? So at the time, it might have been a new go-to-market strategy. It might have been Medic that we were rolling out, but they want us to show them the value. So my team took responsibility for being able to measure as much as we could, again, tell a story with that data. And we followed that cadence every single time. Same thing with onboarding. We wanted them to know who's the capstone winner of the cohort that's coming through. What was their presentation about? How did it go? If we're seeing anyone struggle with onboarding, we wanted to be able to share that too, and how, hey, maybe as a leader, we could check in with them more, or whatever the case might be. But it was the point of the meeting was not just to have a meeting. It was to allow them to see the value in what we were doing, understand where we were at, be able to give them a platform to give us input on what's coming so that there's no surprises. And we talked a lot about timelines when there were launches with products or things that were happening outside of just what we were doing, but they might have been doing with their. We needed to know that. And there's no way we would have known had we not connected on a regular basis. So again, I would say create your own cadence, simplify it as simple as possible, and use data to tell your story as best you can.
Yes, simplify data. And we actually have maybe like 3 or 4 more questions. So I think we're doing well with time. I don't want to jinx it, but what is your approach to attribution and how do you claim impact without getting called out? Tara, we're going to start here.
Can I get a thumbs up on the call if you're in enablement, and you find it hard to track? I think we all know that we are not the be all end all, right? It is our partners internally. It's our job together to come up with the data. So what I mean by that is there's tangibles and there's intangibles to sales training and enablement. There's some that are just really intangible and kind of hard to track. With AI now, we're getting a lot more of an opportunity to maybe record and get some insights into things that we haven't before. I've seen HighSpot's version of being able to have a customer or a seller interact with their tool as if it was going to be their customer to practice, beforehand. And that gives you a safe space to learn. So I think what we need to do, again, and this goes back to that regular cadence with your leaders, is and cross-functionally with marketing, with sales ops, track everything. Make sure that you find a way through your CRM, through Workday, and I'm just naming off some of the ones that I've used, but your learning and development tools and modules, and take it out of, don't just let it happen and not track it. Take that data set out and look at it, analyze it. AI could be a great tool to help us analyze things very quickly now. So align those KPIs with your go-to-market as well. When you do that, what I found is my CRO would meet with me whenever she could. She trusted me. She was like, just keep doing what you're doing. But I'm like, but look at all the things we're doing, so I'd hand her something. She's like, oh, this is great. Can you put this in a slide for me in 15 minutes? I'm going to a board meeting. I'm like, okay, but I don't want them chasing me for data. I always want to be bringing that data to them and understanding how we can do things better. I will say, at a previous company, as much as you can put in salesforce.com, the better. We had some stage gating around Medic so that folks that had opportunities could not move that opportunity forward without making sure certain things were complete. What we saw in a very short period of time there was that the folks that were engaging the economic buyer and using metrics as a part of their sales process saw a 20% plus lift in their deals that were closing. So that was huge. And you can track a lot of different metrics with something like a Medic or methodologies that your businesses are using.
That is a killer statistic. I love that you're able to capture that.
We tried.
Yeah, that's a hard one because the stage gating, and some people, they push back on it, but it's like it's hard to deny that kind of information. And I was thinking about how to answer this question. And again, I love a good lift. And, the same time, like, the CROs kind of need you to give them a little more too, right? So the way I think about it is, okay, like if you can't always control the sales data, right? Like you can't control or the sales numbers. Like you can do everything right as an enablement person. You could be perfect, which we shouldn't, do that to ourselves, but you could be perfect. And you could have like the hardest working, most amazing salespeople. And then something happens you can't control, right? Like, something happens, the economy, the news, turnover in the company, different manager, book of business changes, territory. So I like to look at things that show rigor, if that makes sense. So if there are ways to measure, like if you have an account plan that they fill out and some way to capture that, like if they do their account planning and then they, like maybe they have to fill it out before they have their one-on-ones with their managers, and there's some sort of scoring rubric the manager keeps. Or if there's something around, I don't know, I mean, you can get creative with gong trackers, and we can talk about this more in Q&A, but if there are ways that you could capture how hard they work at doing, like really understanding the customer and how you can help them, and then connect that to things like speed to the deal, or like your maybe your infiltration, that's a weird word, into an organization. Like if you're doing multi-threaded conversations, like look for these little bits that maybe aren't, like you should look in Salesforce, but if there are other things that you can try to track to show rigor, I think you will see time and time again, there will be really strong correlations. And what was the other thing? Oh, you need to think of, speaking of your customers, your sales leaders or your C-level, they are like your customers too. And it's just like what we mean, our customer success folks, like, you got to keep showing value, keeping them engaged, keep checking in with them and seeing what's important to them now. And it could be coming out of a board meeting with a new directive, or it could be they read like an HBR like article about something, and now they're all like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even thinking about that. And then they're super fixated on a certain metric. Like just keep checking in with them and keep evolving how you can help them feel taken care of.
Perfect. Okay, just 3 more questions. And this one, the next couple of questions will be focused on the path forward. So what skills will separate high-performing enablers in 2026? I'm writing this down. Jill, let's start with you, please.
I had thought about that for a while, and I really think it's curiosity, which I think we all have naturally. But I think, we bring that to the job, and we should honor that instinct, because enablement's really creative. And, we're coming back to showing value and being efficient, things like that. You get there with curiosity, or you get there with connecting to what your leaders need with curiosity. And it makes me think of, like, in the enablement squad, we're always like throwing questions in there. If anyone's, on the webinar and not in the Slack group, you should definitely join. And someone will be like, I'm trying to figure out how to do blah, blah, blah. Has anyone, can you embed this thing in this tool here? Or can you, like, just asking the question, what if, can you? And that's the innovation that really keeps moving all of us forward. And having like who was it? It was Nikki Schanzer. She's a really well-known person in our community, and she used to talk about wanting to surprise and delight her sellers as an enablement head. So things like that, like how do you keep pushing it forward with doing it a little differently? And the tools we have, in the enablement squad tools channel is so fun, because someone will be like, y'all, I just found this editing tool. It's incredible. And everyone's like, ooh, 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 can you show me? So definitely take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
I love all those examples. They're so real and happening currently. My thoughts around, the separating high performing enablers from just regular traditional enablement is, again, using data to help support you and dig for that. You have to do some homework to be able to do that and work with your collaborative partners internally. AI clarity enablement is absolutely going to be a huge engine to help our sellers and our customers at companies understand AI and look to us as trusted advisors. So we've got to stay in touch with it. It's reading books, it's attending webinars, it's taking courses like at University of North Florida had a great course called AI Enablement in Work and Life. And keep yourself sharp and using these things, because we're going to need to know this so that we can help our folks the best we can. The stakeholder engagement, that again will set you apart from any enablement team. You can walk into a business that has hated enablement forever, thinks it's a waste of time, and you can turn their attitudes around simply by pausing and listening and treating them like your client. Listen to what they have to say. What's their experience been? Write it down, repeat it back to them. They want to know that you understand them so that they can trust you moving forward. And lastly here on this is be able to lead through change. Shocker. But we have to be the ones that are there with empathy, leading through change. And by empathy, I just mean what Jill talked about earlier and others of us are going through is we've got to think like a seller, put ourselves in their shoes and in the sales leadership shoes before we implement anything or enable on anything. We've got to put ourselves in their space, view what's bigger picture going on, what can wait versus what's more needs to be at the forefront right now. So just keep those priorities moving and shifting. And as Jill mentioned, sometimes we might be so knee deep in something it's hard to let go of, but we have to be able to shift and be nimble for the organization.
Love that. Two more, so we're almost there. So what's one habit you see in enablers who earn trust with sales leadership quickly?
Mine would be listen first, repeat back, summarize what you heard, and include them in consistent communication. That is how you build trust. And if you fall together. If you rise together. It's one team, and just reminding them that you have their back. You're there for them and their priorities. That's what I would say there.
Love that. How about you, Jill?
I completely agree. Just if you let them know your goal is to help them, and just, bringing it back by listening to them and repeating it back, like Tara said, it's just, often I had mentioned earlier, it's such a lonely job because sales leaders have to look, like they have it together, and, they're talking to their reports to their organization, and then they turn to some very impatient, company leaders, and to be able to, say to them, like, I'm here to see you succeed. So help me help you. Don't say that, but it's just, it's really important to help them feel seen.
I really, really like that. And that's definitely something that I keep in mind when talking to sales managers. And last but not least, we have one more questions, then we will turn it to the audience. If you had to give one sentence here for our attendees to use with their VP or CRO next week to reinforce enablement value, what would it be? Jill, let's start with you.
I thought so hard on this one. That's a really hard question. And I realize it's more of asking them a question. And, because first I was thinking like, what concerns you the most? But that could be anything. But it's like, what if your top two reps left right now? Like, what would be your biggest concern if those hero sellers left? And what you're going to hear will be something around like concern around getting net new business or renewals, or whatever that flavor of their concern is. That's your operating system, and until you hear otherwise, that will help like be the undercurrent of everything that you design. So that doesn't mean all of a sudden you're doing all new business training, but it's just everything that you design, put it through that lens, put the value through that lens when you report it back to them, because that's really, really important to them.
Love that. How about you, Tara?
Yeah, I can't say it better than an author I actually had the pleasure of meeting in person last week. Nate Nasrallah is his name. So I don't know if some of you have read this, but this is what I would say. I got my CRO sometimes in passing, and it's be brief and be brilliant. And that's a part of having your data story always ready to go. So that if you get 1 second with them or 20 minutes or 10 minutes that day, you're being brief and brilliant and making sure to provide them with what they need to walk into that boardroom with confidence and say, this is what my team is doing. Real quick, there were 3 numbers I was going to share at the beginning here that I'd like for you to all write down. If you have a pen and paper, note these, because this is your vote of confidence with where you are. 353 is the first number. This comes from Forbes, okay? Companies can realize 353% in ROI from training, meaning that they gain approximately $4.53 to every dollar invested. That's huge. That comes from Forbes. And that was actually just published on March 4th of 2026. there was a quote in there that says, if we cut training, we're not saving money. We're cutting one of the highest ROI levers in the business. The second number is 12. This is from HighSpot. Mature enablement programs can drive 7 to 12% point increase in win rates.
Mm.
So what that equates to for some businesses, depending on the size of the deals, that could be millions of dollars that we're talking about here. So last but not least, 20. This is from Sift Hub. Reps spend only 30% of their time actually selling. That's crazy to me, but understandable. Proper enablement programs can increase selling time by 20%. So what that means is we're nearly giving them a full extra day back in their work week every single time. So if you're ever doubting yourself or need to get a pat on the back for what you're doing, what we do matters. And we own making sure that our businesses we work through see that.
Amazing. I'm sure everyone else is feeling this, but I just feel super inspired after this session. So thank you both. I see a few questions here, but just a reminder, we will have the recording as well as some key takeaways that we will send out. We will have it on our website, thenablemansquad.com. So please be on the lookout for that. And let's see the questions okay, Tara. The menu that you mentioned of just like what enablement does or what you put together to share with leadership. Some people want you to share that. So if you're open to it, please let us know and we can pass that along.
Network bandwidth.
Oh, it's so genius. Either Tara's reading very carefully or it.
Oh, she froze.
Yeah, there you are. Could you hear that?
I did not hear it, but I'm back.
Okay, great. One thing that we have here in the chat is the menu that you mentioned before of that you've shared with leadership of enablement and their scope. Is that something you're willing to share with us? If so, please send it over and we can share it as well.
Yeah, what I'll do, I use this at two different companies with two different teams. So I'm happy to create kind of a generic version of what that looked like. So you can take it and run with it and create your own version. But yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you. I have another question here. Okay, so this is from Pauline. I'm not sure if she's still here, but we're trying to move beyond surface level enablement metrics, been there, and show more meaningful lagging indicators tied to business impact. The challenge we're running into is that our Salesforce data isn't reliable or easy to access. Preach, which makes it difficult to establish clean baselines or control groups. So the question is, how have you seen teams effectively demonstrate impact in situations where the underlying data isn't fully mature? And Jill or Tara, whoever wants to take it first.
How about Tara? You want me to take the non-rigorous version with the quantity again? Because I've had to get creative because I know exactly what you mean, Colleen. Like it's if people aren't filling things out in Salesforce or they like fill it all out last minute, and then you can't show like sales stage conversion time and all that. Surveys are the best way to go that I've found in these things. And then you have to, maybe get a friend at the company who's the user researcher or, do your own work online to figure out how to make things as objective as possible. But that's why I say, instead of saying like, how do you like this training? Say, I feel more confident or more equipped, or I know where to go to find or whatever. But basically taking the pulse and making it really, really easy. Like we want to ask them everything, and then you've seen like the 20-question survey come out at the end of an SKO and people are like, wow, after being in, hotel, convention center for so long, they don't want to fill out a survey. So like try to like trickle them in, like make them a little fun, maybe with Slack or something like that.
Yeah, I love that. And same thing. I mean, even at larger companies, smaller companies, larger companies, we all experience the same types of issues or challenges. But one, if you're not already, become best friends with someone on your sales ops and rev ops team. because you're going to help tell their story too. But make sure you understand how they're being measured as well. This is a partnership, not just one-sided. So take that approach, and I guarantee they're going to be flexible to work with you because it's a good look for both of you. It's not just one-sided. The other thing I would say is if you're using things like Workday or training and coaching module, like what HighSpot has, those are great for being able to track and get actual results from assignments that you're giving out, but give out real world assignments, not just like, hey, go read this, and then we're going to say 100% of you watched this video. Who cares? If they watch the video and they don't do anything with it, what does it matter? But if they watch the video, they take an action with a customer, and we can track what that actual feedback is, that gives us a leg up on understanding what it is. And AI, ChatGPT, Copilot 365, those are tools that can help us. You can throw the data in there and ask it to summarize it for you, and it will show you where things are going well and where things aren't. And to Jill's point, surveys are absolutely 100% every time. Every single time you do something, get a pulse from your people, no more than 5 questions, have at least one that's open answer.
Perfect. I see someone has their hand raised. Oh, I just
Angelina. Yeah,
okay.
I wrote it in the chat and hand raised because I wasn't sure with the rules. But thank you so much, ladies, for hosting this. This has been awesome. I think one of my questions is for Tara. Like, what would you recommend? I feel like this is across the board in a lot of organizations. I'm in an enablement manager role, but then trying to level up into a director role. And how would I do that internally without having to do a company change or a title change? Because I think there's always challenges doing that because sometimes
am I back?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
We can't hear you. Okay, can you hear us? Can she hear us?
Oh,
I think
no.
Tara's frozen, unfortunately.
Thankfully,
Maybe
it's a
we got
beautiful
Jill
smile.
to answer.
Yeah, I think, I know why you directed that to Tara. She's definitely been in these organizations where she's had to work with like the different constructs of HR more and things like that. It's what I think you're saying. Like, how do you do it without the title? That is a great question. Oh, wait, Tara's back. Good. You can save me on this one.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Repeat your question very quickly.
Okay. Internally, how do you up-level yourself in the eyes of your CRO and VP in order to go from regular manager to director role without having to change the company to get the title change and increase in responsibility?
I think we lost her again, unfortunately.
Oh.
So how about this? Angelina, if you said you dropped the question in the chat, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. We will direct that to Tara, and she can follow up in a separate message. And Angelina,
Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay, there we go.
Okay, I heard your question this time. I just turned my video off in case that's part of the issue.
Okay.
So again, I would say I liked to be the person that my CRO did not have to babysit. I did not want her to have to come to me to ask for things. It was more me being proactive and working with my team and changing the way we did things together as a team. So making sure she trusted that we had eyes on anything before we put it in front of our sales team. And she knew that I was thinking through potential, challenges that would come up, and I'd present them to her, but I'd always come with a possible solution. So I would say just, stay confident in yourself, always do the research first, never come to a CRO with a problem, come to them with a challenge and what you're suggesting as a solution.
Love that. Thank you.
I thought you're like an internal consultant.
I feel so bad my computer's being ridiculous.
I'm glad I waited till the end.
Yeah.
Same.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Jill, for all your insights. Again, we're going to share the recording and some key takeaways. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great week. Go for a walk.
Thank you all. And thank you, Timmy at Enablement Squad. This was awesome.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you
everyone.
all.
Thank you. Bye, team.
Bye.
Bye.